Welcome to the Make Me Whole podcast. I'm your host, Josette Rosado, and it's time to talk getting past what's difficult, trusting our own abilities to do more, and keeping it that way. You know that feeling you get inside, right in the pit of your stomach? You know, the one that tells you either this just doesn't feel right or that's exactly what I want? Why don't we trust that? Why are we constantly second guessing ourselves? Why do we think we're doomed to make the wrong decisions? What's the difference between what we feel in our guts and what we hear in our heads? Let's deal with the first, our struggle with trusting ourselves. So many of us feel like this because we're disconnected from ourselves, our true selves. We're really not alone in this, and a lot of time we're so judgmental of ourselves, especially when we're struggling. For example, women, we're supposed to have this intuition that guides us, and we're supposed to be born with it too, right? What if I told you it's not our fault that we don't have that intuition, or we don't trust that intuition even though we do have it? Since we were born, we're told that someone else knows best. Our parents, especially our fathers, elders, leaders in our churches, teachers, adults, they've been the voices of authority and placed us in a role of not knowing. Since there's pretty much been some authority figure telling us what to do, how to act, how to feel, it's hard for us to understand at times that we can actually trust ourselves. This happens mainly for those of us who were raised and lived by the teachings of our respective churches. Here, there's this unfair conflict that happens. And when we get old enough to come up with our own ideas and upset those in the church about those ideas or questions, that's when it becomes a problem. We're taught God knows best, but we wonder if there's a difference between God and that gut feeling. We ask if the voice inside us, the one that we've had since we were little, is the voice of God or something else. Now, I'm not saying that I don't believe in many of the things that I was taught while going to Catholic school or attending church just about every Sunday. I think the voice inside me might be one and the same, both a little bit of us and a little bit of God. And that inner knowing or gut feeling comes from something far more greater than just me. But it also comes from me. It's like a paradox, one I'm really happy to be experiencing. I also believe that the more we understand ourselves, the more we're in line with that greater power. Call it the creator, God, the universe. The problem really comes about when we don't trust it. When the messages of what we think is true comes from an outside source that's not familiar to us. The interpretation from a church, an elder, a pastor, which, to be 100% honest, is usually the voice of a male, may not be reflective of what's actually happening to us in our lives. Again, this is the disconnect between believing what's being said and believing that you have the right to trust your own thoughts. How many of us were told as little girls that we were to be seen, not heard? We weren't to be too sassy, that we were to put our value in our looks, be pretty, be thin. We would need to find a man to marry us. It was our goal to be a mother. Listen, if you didn't go through that, that's not you, that's amazing. But we know when we're speaking of our role and the generalizations of what it means to be a woman, we are shown and taught things that move us further and further away from what we individually feel is best. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Raise your hand if you grew up and you had already tried a diet by the time you were a teenager. I remember for me, I was always told to be careful, that I was too gordita, that I had to watch what I ate all the damn time. I saw my mom do this too, and knew that the diet culture was one where women were raised to value themselves through their thinness. If you were thin, you were pretty and strong and smart and better than those around you. If you weren't, well, you had a lot of work to do and possibly were a failure. This idea is just one that gives too many mixed messages, and did so when I was growing up, placing doubt in what I was wanting for myself. It's also messages like these that promote the thoughts that we can't be trusted, not with food, not our bodies, what we believe in to be our truth. It was so confusing. And honestly, if we were confused, we probably would turn to the wrong methods to solve that problem. This is a big reason why the diet industry is in the billions. People look to experts, and when it doesn't work, we don't blame the diet, we blame ourselves. Here's another piece of evidence that you can't be trusted. So no wonder we second guess ourselves, and then we stay stuck. What can we do then if we need to take a step back and learn how to trust our gut? Be decisive. Make your decision and just go with it. Don't give time to overthinking, because when we experience our brains freaking out, it's just those messages we've heard over and over again about how we must be wrong. And there's no truth to that. Remember that there is no perfect or right answer. What keeps us stuck is that we believe there should be. We believe if we figure out the exact path to our decisions, everything will work out as we want it to. Our focus is to pick a direction, and regardless of that direction, it's going to be hard and we'll have many obstacles. But just standing there questioning, doubting, it's not going to get you to the start of the change that you're looking for. And you know what? We've got what we need to figure it out. Everything doesn't have to be either right or wrong. If you trip up, so what? Get up and do something else. We've got to get back to the sense of us having trust that we will figure it out, because the fear of getting it wrong is keeping us from doing anything. No debates, no discussion. You need to get it done. And understand that sometimes shitty things happen and there isn't a reason why. No matter what happens to you, you'll be okay. You'll figure it out. Stop thinking about wasted time, that we have to hurry up and get this done now, that we have to push ourselves harder to show we deserve what we're trying to accomplish or obtain. What I've come to believe is that we can go slower so that we can be more intentional and we can stop and give ourselves grace when we need to. Focus on that inner knowing. It's that voice we hear, the one that's always there, and the one we try to avoid as much as possible. It's time to listen. Sit, be quiet, and listen. If we take the time to meditate or just be still, we can work on communicating with the inside and pay attention to what's being said. This way, we identify whether or not it's our thoughts or our feelings showing up. Think about it. How many times did you feel one thing and your brain talked you out of it? The point is to make choices against this inner knowing. It's really like fighting something so much greater than us, because our focus becomes what others think about us and what we believe all this time to be true. Think of something that happened which turned out to be so much better than you thought it would. Even if it's the smallest thing. Seriously. When was the last time that you had things go right because you listened to your gut? I bet it's happened more than you think. There are so many things that can come at us and make us feel that we can't trust ourselves, and it happens more and more all the time. It's time to go against that. Kind of like an act of defiance. And keep in mind, only that which is going to work best for you. Okay, I think that was a good one. Gotta trust that gut just a little bit more. Thank you so much for all your continued support, and to all of our subscribers. It just makes me so happy to know how much this is affecting those who are listening. Reach out. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Bosses of Bliss, on TikTok at Blissful Boss, and our company website is bossesofbliss.com. Check it out. We've got a lot of things going on there. Remember, complain less and do more. I'll see you all next time.